We here at Accessibility recognise that the needs of blind gamers are often overlooked by the games industry at large, with relatively few game developers and publishers tackling making their games accessible for partially sighted or sightless blind players. So, every year we make an effort to find new, interesting and creative games to showcase that are aiming to be playable by a wide range of blind gamers, ideally without requiring sighted assistance. This year, as part of our push to showcase more blind accessible games, we paid attention to the Games for Blind Gamers Game Jam, an event in its 4th year trying to encourage creative game design exploration focused on blind player accessibility. That said, I'm not blind myself, so I'm going to hand this over to someone who was involved in this year's event, so they can tell you about the games that won and some interesting projects that you might want to keep an eye on.
Hello there, this is Piotr. I was one of the judges for the Games for Blind Gamers 4 Jam. Being a part of this event, both as a judge and also just a gamer participating and trying out all the games, was honestly really amazing. Because the Game Jam itself is not new, we've had a couple before, but I think this year was really unique in terms of quality and the kinds of games we had before. Because what often people gravitate toward when they think of a game accessible to blind gamers is usually really simple concepts, like a simple maze where you're trying to find your way out, or like a Simon type game where you have to repeat sounds by pressing buttons, for example. Well, this year we got a lot of unique games that I think set the bar much higher and showed that blind people can play much more complex games even. And the winner that we picked was one of just many amazing examples. Actually, picking a winner this year was incredibly difficult. And the game that ended up ultimately winning, called Unseen Awakening, was really cool because it kind of subverted the blind protagonist trope, which is also something that was really popular, where some blind person saves the day by swinging a sword around, for example. Well, in this game, you are a blind person saving the world, but you're not the main hero. You're just part of a group of heroes, and actually, you're not the one attacking. You're doing the healing for the party, and also occasionally stunning the enemies or keeping them at bay. And that game was amazing, both in terms of the voice acting, the music, the sound effects, and the idea, which even though was kind of simple, just was, I think, just really interesting. And that's really scratching the surface. We had a very hard time picking our winner.
Perfect enemy to test your abilities. Keep using your spells on me, though.
Canetto!
Press space to start the battle.
My sword has been feeling a little parched.
Canetto!
Now my blade will blur in the wind.
Canetto!
Now
Revoluado!
my blade will blur in the wind.
On cooldown.
We had some other really amazing games. We had a trading simulator where you're on a boat where you can also do tricks and ride the waves while you're moving from port to port with some complex navigation added in. We had a very fun, cozy game called Barista where you are running a coffee shop and you need to serve customers some different beverages. And the customers are just very entertaining, and the game itself has a very cozy and chill vibe with some amazing voice acting.
Intuitive much? Try making a single shot espresso. Gotcha! You're not holding a cup. Works every time.
One double espresso in a small cup and one long espresso in a medium cup.
And then we had even more complex games, like, for example, Necomancer Nonsense, which is a full-on RTS. And these kinds of games show that blind people can play even much more involved games, assuming that you have, text-to-speech and maybe some additional keyboard shortcuts, so we can, for example, look around a map in an RTS and see what's going on, and some additional audio cues. But even the simpler ideas that we had were done in a really interesting way. We also had games that were not only accessible to blind gamers, but also people with other disabilities. For example, we had a zombie survival game controlled with just one button that also had amazing audio. We had roguelikes, we had some more traditional maze games as well. But it really just showed how creative you can get, and some of the games you can have that are both blind accessible, but also really fun. Something else that came out of this jam is an amazing community, both of developers who have taken their knowledge and took it to their future projects, gaming or otherwise, an amazing community of gamers and developers, as well as some really helpful resources that people have come up with on the way. So if you are a developer thinking of making your game blind friendly, it can be done, and there are a lot of us who are very hungry for more games, even if they're more complex ones. We definitely need more very complex games in our community, and I think this Jamboree also showed that it can be done. All of the Jam developers have also come up with some really awesome resources. There is a wiki and a Discord community with some very awesome people on it. And if you would like to try making a blind-friendly game, then please join any future Jams, because there will be more. We are planning more events like this. And even outside of that, if you want to add some blindness accessibility features to your game, please do. There are many people out there who will be willing to test the game for you, provide feedback, and obviously when the game actually comes out, play and enjoy it. And of course, if you want to see how it can be done and also have a lot of fun along the way, please do check out all the entries that were submitted this year. Not just the ones that won, but also really every other game that was out that was submitted, because they were really accessible, really well made, and of course, I think the most important, really fun.
Thank you so much to everyone who brought this year's Games for Blind Gamers Game Jam to my attention. It has been home to so many truly fantastic games that I highly recommend people check out. You can find the Game Jam and try out all of the entries at bit.ly/blindgamers. The RPG about casting healing magic was The Unseen Awakening. The trading simulator set on a lake was called Lacus Opertunitas. The coffee shop game was called Barista. And the real-time strategy game was called Necomancer Nonsense. Please explore the full list of submissions. We only had limited time today to highlight a few favourites, but there are so many great submissions this year worth playing.